pleasure to get to know the folks here this year, and I'm really honored to be able to do the introductions for this great class of 2013. Representative Bob Hackett was here, but he had to leave, so one of the things I'd like to do is let you know that each of our award winners this evening will be getting a proclamation from the Ohio House of Representatives, and it reads, under the sponsorship of Representative Robert D. Hackett, House District 74, on behalf of the members of the House of Representatives 130th General Assembly of Ohio, we are pleased to congratulate you, and this will be personalized for everyone, on being inducted into the Xenia Community Schools Foundation Hall of Honor. You are deserving of high praise, for you have combined civic concern and commitment with selfless initiative to become a dynamic leader in the area, and this prestigious honor is a fitting tribute to you in recognition of your exemplary contributions as a graduate of Xenia High School. Through your unwavering dedication to excellence, you have certainly distinguished yourself as a conscientious and hardworking Ohioan, or Maryland person, as the case may be. Your exceptional record of personal and professional success stands as a hallmark worthy of emulation, and you have inspired countless individuals to excel in numerous areas of endeavor. The respect and admiration you have earned throughout your life are clearly evident, and your accomplishments are a justifiable source of pride and an outstanding reflection not only on you, but also on your family and community. Thus, it is with great pleasure that we commend you on your recent accolade and extend best wishes for the future. These are pretty cool people. I am very pleased to introduce, well, I better back up. I'm very pleased to read this nomination. Our first inductee was nominated by Robert Williamson. Have you ever wondered how those huge airplanes we often see flying over Xenia stay up in the air? Well, Steve McIlvaine knows and has piloted over 4,500 hours in more than 30 such aircraft. Most of those hours he flew in the KC-10 refueling planes in 3 wars, Kosovo, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Steve attributes his academic success to the excellent public education he received from his teachers, K-12, in Xenia City Schools. When he entered the Air Force Academy in 1990, he was on par with all the cadets and graduated as a distinguished graduate in 1994. As a United States Air Force pilot, he has received 2 Air Force medals and an Air Commendation Award. Steve continues to serve his country as Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force Reserves and an admission liaison officer for the U.S. Air Force Academy. Working for the Boeing Company now, he is currently supporting the developmental KC-46A test program, a new refueler for the Air Force, as a heavy weapons test pilot. Steve is not in the area right now. I believe Tony will tell you where he is, but accepting the award on his behalf is his father, Tony McIlvaine.
Thank you, Kelly. If they took that idea of yours, I'd be in deep trouble. The gong and the $50. On behalf of Steve and my wife, it's a great honor to accept this award on his behalf. Steve could not be here. He's on a mission in Algeria, Africa, and he just couldn't make it. But he did send an email, okay? And he first wanted to congratulate the 2 other recipients, Dr. Janine Washington and Mr. Rick Williamson. And he wanted me to talk about Janine for a second. Janine, and I just found this out tonight, I know they graduated from the same high school. They were a year apart. She graduated in 1991, he graduated in 1990. But she told me tonight that they have been together ever since grade school, all the way through grade school, junior high, and high school. So he sends his highly regards, and he's sorry he couldn't see you tonight. Here's his email. I want to thank the committee members for accepting me into the Hall of Honor. I'm truly grateful to be recognized and proud to have been educated through the Xenia school system. I attribute my achievements to the guidance and discipline that I received from the finest administrators, teachers, and coaches in Xenia, who made such a tremendous impact in my life. I apologize for not being able to attend this evening. I can't thank you enough for providing me the opportunities for paving my future. Again, Steve is on a mission in Algeria. He had to train some pilots. Boeing is trying to sell a C-17 plane. I think it's worth around $200 million. The country doesn't have one, so he had to train the pilots to see whether or not they would want to buy this plane. So we'll find out how he did there. Incidentally, if you go to the Air Force Museum now, the latest plane is a C-17. It's outside, and it's the last plane on the left. And it happens to be a plane that Steve tested at Edwards Air Force Base. So if you're ever at the Air Force Museum, it's a long walk, but it's a pretty big plane to see. The next thing I'd like to do is introduce the table where we're sitting, because these are important people in Steve's life. And the first couple are like our second parents, Jim and Barbara Holman. They had a pool, they lived right behind us, and that's where Steve practiced and continued to swim. That's Jim and Barb Holman. Then their daughter Nancy Sanders and Kurt Sanders were away in Chicago for a long time. They came back a few years ago. That was Steve's babysitter, so she attributes everything to her. That's what she keeps saying all night. That's me, I did it. And then Bob and Ann Williams. Bob did the nominating, and I certainly appreciate that. Bob and Ann have been friends of ours for almost 50 years now. And he was at my wedding, and I certainly appreciate doing it. He was the superintendent of the schools when Steve graduated. Thanks again to Bob. Steve is a real inspiration to me. Oh, I forgot the most important person. I'm sorry. I told her I wouldn't do that, but I
Good catch.
also at the table is my wife of 48 years and my best friend for 52 years, a retired teacher from the Xenia Community School System, Janet McIlvaine. Janet also just celebrated her 50th reunion last year, 1962. And I'd like to recognize some of her school buddies over there on the table, the class of 62. Raise your hands. I'll have applause for them. Steve was always an inspiration to me, especially for his major setbacks that he had throughout his 42 years. And then getting through these setbacks. Like the time when he was 10 years old, and at the height of his swimming career, he tore a nerve that paralyzed his diaphragm. Then there was the time in high school, 1 week before a football practice started, his senior year, he was fooling around in the swimming pool and sprained his wrist. Then when he graduated from the academy, his first plane flight on a refueler as a co-pilot, he had a fire in the cabin. And then the time he went to test pilot school, they told him that he would not graduate or get through this, and he had 1 year to do it, unless he was able to fly an F-16 fighter jet. But he found out there was only one other person in the class besides himself that never flew one. So we got a lot of phone calls that year. But the one thing that sticks in my mind is that this all started, his setback started when he was an infant. It goes back to, I guess, resentment and rejection. When Steve was 3 days old, my mother happened to be here helping us out, and she slept with Steve in his bedroom. Steve cried that night. My mother got up, walked down the hall into the kitchen to warm the bottle. All of a sudden she heard the crying stops, but she knew he was hungry. So she walked back, looked into the room, no baby in the crib. This is 3 days. She said she got more gray hair that night than any night. She didn't want to wake us yet. She looked all over the house, could not find Steve. Finally, she woke Janet up. She knew she couldn't wake me up because I'm the frantic one, I'm the worrywart, and she said, I'm not waking my son. Woke Janet up, they looked again, and they found Steve in the corner of the living room behind a chair, just lying there on the floor, peaceful. Well, the next day, my father-in-law came over and he was putting a latch on Steve's door, and I asked, what are you doing then? And he wouldn't say anything. I guess, well, they didn't tell me for 6 months. But my daughter, Jill, resented the fact that he was crying. He woke her up probably. She went into the bedroom, picked him out of the crib, and took him to the living room and dumped him right in the, maybe on his head, I don't know. But that's where we found him. So it all started way back when. But seriously, I want to thank Jim Smith, the chairman of the selection committee, and all the committee members for choosing Steve into the Hall of Honor, because I can tell you, they really made the parents extremely proud and grateful for this award. Thank you.